Welcome to Native Talk Arizona, Native Health's Native American Cultural Affairs program, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm Susan Levy. At ASU, the School of Technology for Public Health is establishing a new field to reimagine public health infrastructure in the 21st century. And they're going to create a more integrative, responsive, and resilient system to protect the health of people in Arizona and beyond. On the phone to tell us more is Dr. Jody Pathak, Founding Dean and Professor of the School of Technology for Public Health at ASU. Welcome, Dr. Pathak, and welcome to Native Talk Arizona.
Well, thank you very much, Susan. It's an honor to have the opportunity to speak with you, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yep. Well, I love ASU. I'm a former Sun Devil, so I can't wait to learn more about this new program and get our listeners interested and hopefully enroll and make a difference in the future. But before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to ASU.
Oh, fantastic. So I'm originally from India. I did my undergraduate training back in India, and I went to graduate school in Iowa State here in the U.S. I worked at Mayo Clinic for several years and then moved to New York, where I was a professor at Cornell University in New York City. So my work, I'm trained as a computational scientist, but a lot of my research is focused on behavioral health. We study depression, substance use, and suicide. And so to be quite honest, when I learned about this new school, I first of all wasn't sure. The search firm approached me. I was pretty comfortable back in New York, and relocation from New York City to Phoenix seemed somewhat daunting. But the more I learned about school, more I learned about ASU. I heard from President Crow and his vision. I really got intrigued. It's not very common for a large public research university such as ASU to not just launch a school of public health, but also a medical school that is focused on technology. ASU, as you know, has always been innovative. And here, yet again, they're trying to do something different. But I think more importantly, I saw this as an opportunity to potentially make a larger impact, both professionally and personally. As you and the audience knows very well, Arizona has some of the poor health outcomes in the country, and we really need a bold and a creative approach that focuses on disease prevention, coordination between public health and healthcare delivery, and really leverages multifaceted strengths across ASU to recruit and train the healthcare workforce that would be more prepared for the 21st century to improve health outcomes across the state and hopefully nationally. So I felt like this was personally a call to action, and I'm so grateful and honored to be here. I've been here just for 6 weeks. Moved to Arizona on July 1. So I'm, first of all, getting adjusted to the environment and the climate, but it's been a really wonderful experience.
Well, welcome to Arizona and ASU, obviously. And yes, President Crow does do a lot of really innovative things, and I've seen ASU change over the years. But tell us about the new School of Technology for Public Health. So what is that?
Well, I want to take a few steps back. So if you think about public health at its core, it's about prevention, right? So instead of treating diseases after they occur, public health really focuses on reducing the risk factors, promoting healthy behaviors, and really creating an environment that supports well-being. But if you think in the U.S., we spend, roughly about $11,000 per person per year on healthcare delivery, but only $250 approximately per person per year goes towards public health, right? So as a result, public health systems are chronically under-resourced. They're typically slow to adapt, and as a result are not in a position to scale solutions for complex population-level challenges. And as I'm sure you and the listeners are aware, the way things are happening both nationally and locally with respect to public health funding, public health is expected to do more with less. So as a result, we believe that there is an opportunity for technology to potentially close the gap, right? Not replace, but augment core public health capacity. To give you a few examples, for instance, how can we use AI and artificial intelligence enable surveillance systems, syndromic surveillance systems that could look at multimodal data from hospital emergency department visits to wastewater management to social media to predict outbreaks early, much more earlier. So we are able to respond more rapidly. How can we, for example, focus on hard to reach rural parts of Arizona? And I'm just again getting to know the state, the people, and the culture here. But there are certain parts of the state where access to care is very challenging. So how can we deploy telemedicine capabilities, especially in areas such as mental health, which is where I have spent a lot of time, but prenatal care and chronic disease management. So we're trying to design the school to train the future public health leaders who can really close this gap. When you work in public health, there has to be a commitment to public service. But at the same time, we want our public health professionals to be equipped and have the technical and design skills that are really needed to modernize and innovate public health systems and be more proactive in addressing underlying causes of poor health. So that's what we're trying to gear up. We are ready to welcome our first cohort of students. It's a smaller cohort of roughly 15 to 16 students. But we're very excited in terms of the programs that we are creating and how we want to establish really one of the very first schools in the country that is embedding technology in public health at its core.
So is this the new cohort that's starting, are these bachelor's or master's students?
These are master's students.
Okay.
So we are launching 2 new programs, a master's in public health and MPH degree, which is a 2-year degree. And then there is another degree, which is a 1-year degree of Master of Science in Public Health Technology. So as of now, these are all in-campus campus immersion programs. Hopefully by fall 2026, so a year from now, we would be having online degree programs as well as a bachelor's degree as well.
Okay, so for the groups that are starting this or next week, so you said there's the Masters in Public Health and then the 1-year Masters of Science. Do they do, and then they're on campus at downtown Phoenix, correct?
That's correct.
College of Health Solutions, okay. Is that where this is? It's all within the College of Health Solutions?
So College of Health Solutions is separate. So we are all part of a broader ASU health umbrella. So there's College of Health Solutions, there is a School of Public Health, there is a new School of Advanced Medical Engineering and Medicine, and there is the Nursing School. So these are the 4 units which collectively become ASU Health. So we are thinking, when we are thinking of health, we are thinking in a much more comprehensive way, all the way from early prevention to intervention.
So I think it sounds like a great program. What kind of jobs do you anticipate? So they're going to start the 2-year and the 1-year program. Let's say for the 2-year students getting the Masters of Public Health, what kind of jobs or job opportunities do you think will be available or will be available in a couple years looking down the road with your program, with the School of Technology? Do you think it's all like statistical and data, any boots on the ground, or is it running programs? What do you see for them?
Oh, that's a great question. So as I think you can relate to this, the entire field of health is technology is making a huge impact in how we think about public health, of course, but also how we think in terms of healthcare delivery. So we really want to train our students in these emerging approaches, such as AI and data science, cybersecurity. But also at the same time, we want these are future leaders. We want them to be prepared for developing tech-driven solutions that would gear towards improving health outcomes, disease prevention, and really creating more resilient public health systems. So yes, technology is going to be a big component, but at the end of the day, public health is about the public. So a big aspect of the school is community-based engagements. We are trying to establish partnerships with the journalism school here, and there will be an initiative that we'd be launching broadly focused on health communication, health literacy, and advocacy. Because the fact is that technology, as good as it is, it cannot really fix the public health challenges, right? There's a lot of research that has shown that approximately 80% of an individual's health is determined by factors such as socioeconomic factors, your education, your occupation or income, or your health behavior, diet, exercise, your physical environment, where you live, where you work, and so on and so forth, right? So the way we are positioning our school and the programs is that in order to improve public health, technology has to work side by side, not replace, but side by side with foundational factors such as environment, food regulation, welfare, housing, transportation, and all of these collectively could lead towards a much more healthier population.
And I think for people that don't know, some of those are called like social determinants of health. And when you're looking at someone's health and their environment, as you mentioned, education, employment, transportation, access to food and housing. And you mentioned being relatable and health literacy and in public health. We were just talking about this, that kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, people cannot be receptive to things unless they've got their immediate needs taken care of, because they're worried about, like, do they have air conditioning in Phoenix or in Arizona? And do you have housing? And do you know where your next meal is going to come from? It's hard to worry about, or not hard, but if you don't have those things, how do you worry about like your chronic health condition, right? Like if you don't know where you're going to sleep, it's going to be difficult to figure out, okay, how am I going to get my asthma medicine? Things like that.
Absolutely.
So I think
absolutely, and you said it very correctly, Susan. I mean, these social or environmental determinants are a big driver of an individual's health and their family's health, right? So as much as we want to embed technology, you have to address these underlying issues, which have huge policy implications. Advocacy and thinking about how we could interact with policymakers and hopefully shape future policymaking in the state, and by that extension broadly, is going to be so important for our school.
And I think, you mentioned that these students will have the opportunity to learn sort of boots on the ground and learning about public health. We get a lot of students here, and they're fabulous. ASU, obviously, I'm a huge advocate of ASU and think they do a great job, and all of their health programs, we host a lot of them. But I also think it's important that the boots on the ground and learning what public health really is and how we address that every day, and when there's public health crises or emerging health threats or just health literacy, how it's done so it's easily digestible, understandable, relatable. And I think this program sounds like that you're going to be addressing that along with the technology needs, which I think is really cutting edge and really exciting. And I can't wait to hear more about it and the different programs. And then when you start to offer the bachelor's, I think it's going to be just explode in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. No, we are very excited. And just one quick point. One of the core elements of our program is we are establishing what we are calling as a public health tech core. So very similar to AmeriCorps, the idea being that we want to embed our students and trainees working with local health departments. We're establishing partnerships with Maricopa Department of Health, with Pima County. We're trying to work with Arizona Department of Health Services, where the idea being that we want the students to spend a good chunk of their time working hand in hand with public health professionals on the ground, firstly to understand what the issues are, but then secondly, co-developing and co-designing solutions that ideally goes beyond the life cycle of a student and just their training. So we believe that this will give all of our trainees the required skills to how be a public health professional. And it's not just the technical skills, it's your communication skills, it's your thinking broadly in a system level approach, not just your tiny little data analysis that you are doing. So we are very excited to see how this is going to pan out. Again, this is the first cohort of students, so I'm sure we'll learn a lot and we'll adapt as needed. but this is going to be hopefully a really interesting and a unique program in the country.
I think it's going to be awesome. And I think when we get students in the years that I've been here and worked with students, I think, you find your passion. And if public health is your passion, this is a great place, and public health is a great place, and your program's going to be just add to that and add to the workforce and to the upcoming, challenges of public health. So I think it's going to be a great program. But what can the Native American community expect out of ASU's initiatives in this area? So I know they're having a medical school, I believe, coming up in a few years, the Health Observatory, your program. What do you see as the benefit for the community that we serve?
Oh, absolutely. So as I said at the very beginning, I'm relatively new to Arizona, so I'm still learning about the state and the people and the culture. But my understanding is that back in, I believe, January of this year, January 2025, there was a broader listening session that was organized with many Native American communities by ASU. And the purpose was to gain some baseline understanding of shared and diverse healthcare challenges that face individuals living in and around Arizona. And what I've learned and heard is that issues such as addressing workforce gaps, right? Many are remote locations in reservation communities, very hard to recruit nurses and doctors. Addressing barriers, as we discussed, transportation being a huge one of them. I've also heard addressing technology concerns, even developing AI solutions. Will data from Native Americans be incorporated into these different models? So as we are designing these multiple different programs across ASU Health, we're trying to see what are some of the opportunities we could collaborate. So, for example, the nursing school has established a program called Learn Where You Live, where it is possible for students in Arizona to earn their nursing degrees and become a registered nurse without actually moving to an ASU campus. In Tempe or in Phoenix, you could be anywhere in Arizona, and still, essentially, this is a way to communities to invest locally and grow their own members. Health Observatory, you mentioned, is an effort across the campus where we are collecting population level data across the entire state, so not just metropolitan Phoenix area, to understand population level issues, health issues, for example, intersecting heat and behavioral health and substance use disorders, particularly in overdose deaths, to gain a broader understanding across the state. And as far as our public health school is concerned, we are having active conversations with the Cronkite School, the journalism school, and mass communication to really think about new initiatives around health communication and literacy. For example, given how there are rapid changes at the federal level with Medicare and Medicaid, I'm guessing there are many people who do not understand or know what options they have. They may not even know how to enroll in Medicaid, given these changes. So how can we provide support and communication and education around enrollment and access to services where they're available, working together with the communities and co-designing these solutions? So I would say these are some preliminary ideas that we have. ASU, as you know, of course, has a lot of strong relationships with many of these communities, and I, for one, I'm very interested to partner and engage with residents across the state.
Well, it sounds like you're going to have a great program. I wanted to find out, so I know you've got the first cohort rolling out in a couple weeks for those 2 degrees, the MPH and the Masters of Science. But how can our listeners find more information and the timeline for the School of Technology for Public Health? Can they apply now for the spring semester, or do they have to wait another year? Is there anything they need to do? How do they contact you? How do they learn more? Any information would be really helpful.
Absolutely. Well, Google is your best friend in this case. If you just type Public Health Technology ASU, we should be the very first link. It's publichealthtech.asu.edu. We are accepting applications in a rolling basis. And even though the first cohort is starting in fall, we are accepting applications in a rolling basis. So as of now, it's in-person on-campus programs, but our plan is to launch online programs starting next year, and hopefully that will allow a broader group of students to participate and contribute.
I know you said you're accepting the rolling applications. Is that for the spring, or would they have to wait till next fall?
They would have to wait till next fall in the
Okay.
way it's structured right now.
Okay.
But that's how the cohorts are designed for now.
Okay. But they can always call you if they're thinking about a career change or a new career path, or they're
Absolutely.
graduating and they think, hey, you know what, this sounds like really good. I'm going to graduate in May, and this would be the great next step for me and learn about public health. So are you available
Absolutely.
to talk to students if they're interested?
Absolutely. I'm personally available to talk to students. We also we had series of informational seminars and webinars via Zoom. We're just in the trenches of welcoming our first cohort of students. So we will be resuming them most likely in September, October. So people can sign up. We do it once a month. And that's a fantastic opportunity for not just me, but a lot of my colleagues in the school, other faculty members who are all together to learn about the program, to answer any questions. And so I would encourage your listeners to sign up for any future events that will most likely again start in September, October timeline.
Okay. That sounds perfect. I know we have a lot of listeners that are interested in public health, since that's what we do. And tremendous. I think this is going to be just a great program. So we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you've got a new cohort starting, but thanks again for coming on, Dr. Pathak, and we wish you the best of luck, and welcome to Phoenix, Arizona.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to talk to you, and I hope to come back and speak to you again.
Coming up next on Native Talk Arizona, Susan Levy talks with Dr. Manny Lowley, Dene storyteller and editor for Leading the Way magazine. Support for KRDP 90.7 FM comes in part from Native Health, with 2 locations in Phoenix, 4041 North Central Avenue, Building C, near the corner of Central Avenue and Indian School Road, and at 8800 North 22nd Avenue. Native Health is also located in Mesa at 777 West Southern Avenue, near the corner of Southern Avenue and Extension Road. Native Health provides primary medical, dental, behavioral health, WIC, and wellness services for the urban Native American community. For more information, call 602-279-5262 or visit our webpage at nativehealthphoenix.org.
Welcome back to Native Talk Arizona, Native Health's Native American Cultural Affairs program, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm Susan Levy. Leading the Way, The Wisdom of the Navajo People is a monthly magazine dedicated to preserving and celebrating Navajo culture and traditions. It features articles and stories about various aspects of Navajo life, including language, ceremonies, and everyday resilience. On the phone with us today is Dr. Manny Lowley, Dene storyteller and editor for Leading the Way. Hello, Dr. Lowley, and welcome to Native Talk Arizona.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be joining your program and to spread more awareness about our magazine, and I look forward to the conversation. Thank you.
We're super excited to have you on here. All right, so we just posted the information about your contests on our social media, and really hoping that you get to see a bump and a lot of people interested in Leading the Way, the magazine, and everything else. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Sure thing. To start off, my clans are Ashihe, born for Tobaj Naaja, and my maternal grandparents are the Twitij Eatney, and my paternal grandparents are the Kia'ani. I'm from a small community on the Navajo reservation called Setkatog Ole, or where the water flows through the rocks. I started as editor with Leading the Way magazine in January of this year, while I was still working as a instructor at the University of Oklahoma in the Native American Studies program. And I was very excited to join Leading the Way as editor because I've always admired the work that the magazine does to spread awareness of Navajo culture and storytelling, and it falls in line with my own background as a Diné storyteller. In my professional life outside of the magazine, I'm also a multi-genre writer. I write in fiction, poetry, nonfiction, and other forms, and I try to weave in Diné cultural stories into my own research and creative writing. And so finding a position as editor with the magazine was really a good thing to boost not only my own work, but also to lend what I've learned in my own experience to my community, to ensure that our storytelling traditions continue to thrive into the future.
So I want to back up for a second. So you said you were at University of Oklahoma. What were you doing there?
So at the University of Oklahoma, I was working in the Native American Studies department as a lecturer, and then I stepped into the Mellon Impact Postdoctoral Fellowship to do some research within the department on Diné cultural stories and language, and also teaching a Native leadership seminar for some of the students designated as Mellon Fellows in the Native American Studies program. And so I did that for maybe about 2-3 years, and then I transitioned into the position of editor for the magazine.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. So you have quite a resume. But how'd you get interested in writing?
I've always been interested in stories from a young age. Although my mom wouldn't call herself this, she's actually a very gifted storyteller and community historian. Oftentimes, when we drive from our small community to one of the border towns like Gallup for groceries or other necessities, my mom tells stories. She tells stories about places, about people that we pass and their family histories and how we're related to those people, and just different kinds of things like that as we're driving on the road. So I've always been surrounded by stories and have had an appreciation for stories in that regard. But in terms of actually setting on this trajectory of becoming a writer, I think the moment that really solidified that track for me was when my mom took me to Northern Arizona University when I was in 3rd or 4th grade, and she took me to a reading by the Navajo poet Lucy Tapahanso. And I remember being in the audience and listening to Lucy read her poems, and it was all very familiar to me because she was writing and speaking about places that I was familiar with growing up on the Navajo Nation. And it was just so amazing to see one of our own people living the life of a writer and bringing our stories to a wider audience. And so from then on, I started dabbling in poetry and then dabbling in creative writing like fiction. And then later on, that led into my own research talking about Navajo storytelling.
Okay, so then let's jump forward to the magazine Leading the Way. What does the title mean? Let's start with that.
Leading the Way magazine has been around regionally to the Navajo Nation for 20 plus years now. And it was actually started as a kind of community service project by a non-Navajo person that was working in I believe it was a social work type of program. And they really wanted to ensure that our cultural traditions were being spread among Navajo families to help those Navajo families live meaningful, joyful, healthy lives. And so Leading the Way was inspired by a painting that was done by a Navajo artist for that program. And the painting depicts a row of Navajo figures, Navajo people, being led by a Navajo elder carrying a basket. And the idea behind that painting and behind the magazine in general is that our elders and our cultural traditions are really the foundations for us to lead good lives, lead healthy lives, lead meaningful lives. And through those cultural narratives, we are essentially leading the way for the next generation to go ahead and thrive into the future. And so leading the way has really become a beacon of cultural knowledge, cultural traditions on the Navajo Nation. And it's very heartwarming to see some of our readers, when we set up at different events, our readers will come up to our table and say things like, I have a stack of these magazines at home and I always return to them and they always travel with me. And a lot of the college-aged students also use the magazine for research, but also as a reminder of home.
That's pretty amazing. So you answered my question. I was going to ask if it was digital or if it was a paper form, and it sounds like, is it just paper?
So we're a monthly publication. We publish a printed version that we distribute regionally around the Navajo Nation, but we're branching out to urban spaces like Albuquerque, Phoenix, Santa Fe, and even in the works is Denver, Colorado. And so we publish the physical printed magazine monthly, but we also do an online digital subscription where readers from anywhere in the world can access our magazine. But more recently, we're also exploring other options for printing and spreading the stories that we publish. We also have an active social media presence. We have an Instagram, a Facebook, and in those avenues, we're posting different kinds of engagement opportunities. One of the ones that our intern, Laisha, is currently working on is doing a Navajo word of the day, where she has a list of Navajo words that she gives a definition for, but then also talks a little bit about their cultural significance. And that has really boosted our social media presence as well. So we're really trying to branch out from just being a print publication to meet our young people where they're receiving their news and their stories, which is through social media and online.
I'm super glad that you're going to go digital, and it sounds like, yes, you're meeting everybody where they're at. So I wanted to ask you, since you're going to be doing print and digital, why do you think it's important to pass on this traditional information and teachings to the younger generation?
I think that when we talk about the continuation of cultural knowledge and traditional knowledge, one of the things that we also need to recognize is that our identities as Diné people, Navajo people, Indigenous people, is also changing with the times. We're a changing nation, a changing community. And a part of that change is that we've adopted not only the English language and contemporary ways of knowing and understanding, but we've also adopted different modalities of communicating. And one of those is the internet, is the online community. If you venture into any Navajo household and you're having dinner with the family, you'll see the younger people are on their phones, they're posting, they're texting, and they're doing all of these things online. And so for us to be a Navajo cultural publication that is concerned with perpetuating Navajo culture into the future, it really has become a necessity for us to make sure that that cultural knowledge is readily available to our younger people through online platforms. And a central part of that, too, is that our staff is now all Navajo. We're Navajo-owned, Navajo-led. And for our young people to see that there are successful Navajo people that have gone off to college, that have been immersed in storytelling and other forms of art, is a really powerful way for them to see themselves in the stories that we tell. Because for so long, our stories have been told by non-Navajo people, but now we're taking ownership and we're contributing to the rhetorical sovereignty of our tribal community. And I think that's really the power of the online space, is that we're able to reach more people and to spread more awareness of these cultural traditions.
I agree. And I think that, like you mentioned before, that your intern's doing the word of the day. I did see that. And I think it definitely was engaging, and you had a great response to that. So you produce the magazine digitally and published every month. Are you kind of have other programs? I know you've got the contests now for the written pieces and then also the photography. Are you planning on doing any like events, or you're going to just pretty much stay in your lane and continue to publish digitally and paper?
So right now we do have two contests that we're putting up. One is a photography contest, and the other is a creative writing contest. And both of these are really ways for us to increase engagement with the audience, because one of our goals for the magazine is to make sure that not only are we telling the stories as a staff, but we're also making space for our community members to also share their own stories and to also be a part of the magazine as well. And so in that way, we're kind of treating the magazine as this kind of home space, a community space, where not only are younger people invited to share their stories, but our elders and our cultural knowledge holders are also invited into the space as well. And so a part of that community outreach and community programming is we have several events that are coming up. One of the bigger ones is we're working with the Navajo Nation Library to host a celebration of Diné poetry and storytelling at the Navajo Nation Library during the Navajo Nation Fair on September 5th. And so this celebration of poetry and storytelling is really a way for us to gather not only the published Navajo writers, but also to invite the community to come in and do a storytelling circle and share with us as well. And one of the highlights of that event is that we're actually going to be featuring the newly appointed Navajo Nation Poet Laureate, Jake Skeets, as one of our keynote speakers, and he's going to be sharing with us some of his work. And so all of these programs like Leading the Way magazine and the work that we do, and then programs like the Navajo Nation Poet Laureateship, all of these are really exciting because it signifies a really great moment in Navajo literary culture where we're uplifting our stories and we're engaging in global conversations of what storytelling is and does and how that can ultimately benefit our communities. And so we have the contests going on. We have the event, the celebration of Diné poetry and storytelling. And then we also have other events that we're planning with some of our new partners that we're working with in the Southwest. And so we'll be posting more events on our social media. We'll be letting the general community know in different channels as well. So we're really excited for that.
So I want to go back to you were talking about the contest, the creative writing and the photography. Are there different age groups? And two-pronged question. And the other thing is, do people in a certain age group tend to submit more, or is this the first time you've done the contest?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. This is the first time that we're doing this kind of contest, and it really resulted from our goal of engagement with the community through online spaces. And so we decided to do this contest to boost engagement, but also to get more people aware of the magazine in all aspects of how we're operating. And so the contests are actually only open to Navajo people that are 18 years or older, at least in this first iteration of the contest. And it's really like a experimental space for us to start offering these kinds of events to the community. And so we're really learning as we go with these contests and figuring out how we want to present these contests in the future, because I think they're a really powerful way for let's say the barely starting out photographer or the person that has a short story that they're wanting to share but they're nervous to share. It's really a space for them to get their work out there and to get some encouragement from the community. And so the contests are open to anyone 18 years old or older that is a Navajo tribal member. And so far, a lot of our pieces that have been submitted are a variety of things. There are a variety of subjects, there are a variety of styles, and it really speaks to the overall artistic nature of our Navajo people, because we're so artistic and we speak so beautifully and we have this very beautiful vision of our homeland. And that's really at the center of these contests too, is how do we envision our homeland? How do we envision the beauty of Navajo land? And I'm glad we're able to do that through the magazine.
What an opportunity. I mean, when you say that, I can almost envision like you do something for individuals under 18 and people, into a book or whatever that people could travel with and read and give as a gift, or for people, like you said, trying their hand at writing over 18 and learning. I mean, what a great idea. So I think that's amazing. So I know that you talked a little bit about the contest and the word of the day and getting the readers more involved with your publication. And it sounds like you've got a lot of great things planned in your September event with the Navajo Nation Library. Well, I think ultimately it will work. I'm assuming you do as well, correct?
Yeah, I'm very confident in the programming that we have coming up. And one of the things that I also wanted to mention about our biggest event coming up with the Navajo Nation Library is that we've actually have been able to form several partnerships with other literary and storytelling organizations that are really taking notice of our work. One of them is the Diné Artisans Authors Capacity Building Institute. They do work supporting Navajo artists and Navajo writers, not only creatively in terms of doing their craft, but also professionally in providing professional opportunities for those artists and authors as well. We're also in the middle of partnering with New Mexico Writers, which is a statewide organization that supports writers in the state of New Mexico. We're also partnering with the Northern Arizona Book Festival, who has been so supportive in uplifting some of our work that we're doing, and just a variety of other literary organizations in the Southwest. And it's been a great experience to network and build these partnerships because I think it really speaks to a hunger out there in the literary landscape for Navajo storytelling. There are people out there that want to hear from us and that want to hear our stories on our own terms. And I just think that's really beautiful and powerful.
Do you have a favorite story that you've read either in the contest or something you've read about how your work has touched the community and made a difference, or one of the stories that has really touched you?
Yes. So in my role as editor for the magazine, I read stories and submissions not only from our staff contributors, but also from community members and cultural knowledge holders that have been longtime followers of the magazine. And I think the most rewarding thing is seeing the creativity and the overall foresight of some of our cultural knowledge holders that may not have been educated in terms of like a contemporary K-12 education and things like that, but they have this deep cultural knowledge and this worldly experience that I think benefits the younger generation and our audience as well. And so my favorite stories thus far have been the cultural stories that have been shared about the warrior twins or about different kinds of ceremonial protocols and why it's important for us as young Navajo adults to carry on these traditions. Because I think that when we think about Navajo identity, we also recognize that not everybody grew up speaking the language in the household, and not everybody grew up with elders that were able to pass on those traditions in their own families. And so for me as editor, reading these stories and engaging with these stories and making sure that these stories are ready for print, I think it's a really powerful way for me to ensure that cultural traditions are available to a wide variety of families and family structures. And so those are really my most treasured and prized moments with the magazine, is reading those cultural stories and making sure that they're available to the community. But in terms of favorite experiences, I think one thing that is shared across our team is we've been recently tabling at different events in the area. I just tabled at the Pathways Native Arts Market in Santa Fe, and it was a great experience because I met some people who actually showed me pictures of their collection of the magazine, and they were so excited to see that the magazine was going under a rebranding and revitalization because they believe in the work that we're doing, and they're collecting the stories and engaging with the stories, and it's just really, really awesome to see, and I'm just so proud of that work.
So when you mentioned that, and you said they showed you pictures, how long's the magazine been around?
Leading the Way has been around for more than 20 years.
Wow.
And it was actually founded by a non-Navajo person in 2003. And so that's about 22 years since the magazine has been in operation. And so at the end of 2024 is when the magazine came under new leadership. We now have a Navajo publisher, Vernon Livingston, and all of our team members are Navajo, and we all come from different business sectors, different professional experiences. Some of our team members come from community work where they were working at chapter houses, and some of our members come from the business sector where they're working for different companies that deal with Navajo Nation. And then we have other members of our staff that are coming from the arts community, such as our new graphic designer, Alex. She's coming from her background as a professional artist and her background going to art school, and then myself with my background in creative writing. And so we're representing these varieties of experience that I think really make our team able to roll with anything that comes our way and allows us to work together in a good way.
You definitely have a wide range of varieties and talents and skill sets and backgrounds, as you said. Who funds Leading the Way? Is it by subscription or?
So Leading the Way is actually under another company called Navajo Technology Services. And so they provide a lot of like technological kind of support to different businesses on the Navajo Nation. And so they are the company that we're under. But in terms of funding, partial is from that company and their revenue, and the other part of it is from our sales, from our publication and the sales that we make at our regional locations. But the bigger part of it is from advertisers. And so we have a lot of businesses that have reached out to us that are excited to advertise with the magazine because it represents a different kind of readership than, say, a local newspaper or any other kind of media outlet. And so majority of our funding right now comes from advertisements, but we are reaching out to different businesses and organizations that have expressed interest in collaborating and potentially sponsoring some of the work that we do. For the creative writing contest right now specifically, we've gained donations from different organizations like Northern Arizona Book Festival, New Mexico Writers, from the Navajo Nation Poet Laureates program, and then from individual Navajo writers that have reached out and wanted to donate to the program as well. And so we're really gathering a lot of support, not only financially, but in other ways from every avenue that we can think of in our collective experience.
Wow, super impressive and everything that you're doing. Okay, one more quick question. I know you said that you're going to be expanding to Phoenix, Denver, Albuquerque, all of that. What are you planning on doing in Phoenix?
So a part of our outreach is we've been attending different events in border towns, but also in major urban areas where they have a high population of Navajo people. And so I was attending an event in Phoenix that was hosted by the Phoenix Indian Center, and I was able to connect with some of their staff there. And so the Phoenix Indian Center actually expressed interest in subscribing to the magazine and purchasing some of the magazine for some of the programming that they do, especially with language work. And so we're going to be partnering with the Phoenix Indian Center and other organizations in the Phoenix area like Abalone Mountain Press, which is the first Navajo-owned woman press in the country. And so we're going to be collaborating with these organizations to get the magazine into their programs, but also to figure out ways that we can do more community events in urban spaces for our Navajo relatives that are living in cities as well.
We're pretty much out of time. Dr. Lilly, how can listeners find more information about Navajo wisdom and leading the way, and how can they contact you?
Anyone interested can access more information about the magazine at navajowisdom.com. That's our magazine website. But we're also on social media under Leading the Way Magazine, and that's on Facebook and Instagram. And then information about contacting staff members is also on our website as well. And we're open to collaborating with anyone and everyone that has stories to share or different programs to highlight. And so please feel free to reach out to us using our website and social media.
Well, I really appreciate you taking time to chat with us. I'd love to learn more when you come to Phoenix and see how we can work with you and get the word out. And hopefully you're going to get a lot of people entering the contest and then also subscribing to the magazine. So thanks for coming on today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and 90.7 FM KRDP. Our executive producer is Susan Levy. Sound engineer is Javier Quiroga. We hope you will tune in again next week. If you have any questions, please reach us at nativetalkaz@listen2krdp.com.